Solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions.
It's time now for Home Repairs and Solutions, brought to you by Spring Mountain Air with your hosts, Mark and Mary.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm glad you're here today, Mr. Mark.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Mary.
Me too.
Because we're a team.
We are.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a beautiful day in the Ozarks. We need this rain.
We do.
And at least it's kind of warm out.
It's not too bad. Yesterday was beautiful.
It was.
And, I can tell this time of year stuff starts kind of blooming out and the grass is growing a little bit because I get where I can't hardly talk or breathe or anything.
That happens to a lot of people, yeah.
But yeah, it's nice. We need the rain.
We do.
I am really glad to see our lakes and stuff filling back up.
Oh, yeah.
From what we experienced, last year, and hopefully it'll continue. So
I hope so. Table Rock's come up a lot, which it needed to. It was almost a stream. Well, not quite that bad, but it was way, way low. And so it's come back up, and we do need the rain. I'm just glad it's getting warmer. I am so over winter.
I am too.
I am just done. Except for Monday, I guess. I'm not sure.
It's funny, hey, we live in the Ozarks, and if you don't like the weather, just stay a day and it'll change. And, one day we'll have snow and freezing rain, sleet, whatever. And then by the end of the week, we're, up in the 60s and stuff, and the snow's gone. But, hey, that's all right. We're getting closer to that time when it gets up there and stays.
One day at a time.
That's right.
One day at a time.
It'll happen.
We're getting there.
Yep.
Thank goodness I'm ready.
Oh, yeah. Me and you both. And I was out there in the backyard yesterday, and I don't know what they call these things, but they're a little, like, clover-looking thing. They got a little purple flower on it.
It's a weed.
That's all I got in my backyard except up around the house, and the grass is actually growing around the house. I'm going to have to get the lawnmower out, yeah.
Wow. I think my son said he mowed yesterday or day before. I can't remember. Yeah. He had to mow, and I'm looking around, I'm going, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I have to learn how to use the mower. That's the first struggle, but I'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you can't, why, I got a guy that can come by and do it for you, Mary. So
do you?
Yeah,
okay.
I got a good lawn guy that I use quite often myself.
Okay. You got to pay them?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do.
All right. There's always a catch.
There is. There's always a catch, Everything costs.
Everything costs.
Yeah.
Except if you want to call in on the show today.
That's right. And it is a free call for no matter where you are. 862-9977. 1-800-375-0056. Or we are high-tech around here now.
We are.
You can even send us a text at 417-838-3192. And we will read that question over there and talk about whatever you want to. Something real quick I want to mention before we get into to our guest today.
Yes,
I had lunch yesterday with the gentleman from Cross Tech Siding, Kevin.
Yes.
That we had on
yes,
here. And we have since the houses that we're building out Sheila Ridge that we've used that siding on are one of them's done and the other one is almost done. And I tell you what, the siding is just unbelievable. It looks so good, and I just wanted to tell people about that because Kevin was so thankful and gracious for being able to be on the program and talk about that, and wants to come back one of these days.
Good.
And so, yeah, we had a real good lunch, talked about the product. He's got a couple new things that they're working on, but once we got it up and the treatments around the windows and everything, it just looks fantastic. So wanted to pass that along, that he was on, a month or 2 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember for sure. I've got it in my notes here somewhere. But yeah. He was on in January, actually.
Yeah.
January 11th, to be exact.
Yep, there you go. So anyway, just wanted to let folks know about that product once again and local business, and he's doing a great job with it. So
drive by and look at the houses if you want to see what it looks like.
That's right.
You can get a visual. That's always good.
We
are the show me state.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
so
right.
it's better to show me.
Or, I even have pictures. I started us up a Facebook page. If you are a Facebooker, go to DRC Properties. You can type that in, and it'll come up. You can like my Facebook page. And I got pictures of the siding and everything on there.
Cool.
And so
there you go.
There
Something
you go.
to do in your spare time.
That's right. Yeah, you should do that stuff on your spare time, not the boss's time. Although we sometimes do, but
everybody does a little bit. I'm
a
sure.
little bit.
I'm
yeah.
sure.
So, well, we have a special guest.
We do. We have Brian McElroy with us today. He owns Maverick Electric. So, welcome to the show, Brian. It's great to have you on.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. We haven't had an electrician on in quite some time. So, and an electrician, you're one of those guys that does all kinds of neat things for people. You have little electrical things that happen all the time, and most homeowners aren't really wanting to mess with that kind of thing. So it's good to have someone that we can refer to folks here locally that is self-employed and lives here, works here, and wants to be here for a long time. So that's a good thing.
I'm here for the long haul.
Here for the long haul. Well, if you would like, why don't you start out by just giving our listeners a little bit of idea of kind of what you can do for them to help them out?
Well, anything in the way of home maintenance. I do a lot of troubleshooting that encompasses a lot of my business. Whether it be fixing a light that's not working or even doing whole panel upgrades. I do a lot of panel change-outs from fuse boxes to circuit breakers and home generator installs. I do that as well. New construction as well. I love getting on new construction, but about 80% of my business is troubleshooting, maintenance type work and repair.
So you're the guy who'll come in, like if your plug-in used to work and now it doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can sniff out the problem pretty quick.
That is really annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Really annoying.
Yeah. And, there's nothing more aggravating than trying to, for me anyhow, trying to troubleshoot a electrical problem. My dad always did electrical work from the time I was a kid. He went to down there where we came from, around Dixon, the rural electric co-op gave classes, and you could go and take these classes. And my dad did to learn to do electrical work. So he wired houses and everything, and I'd always watch him. So naturally, I did some of my own electrical, and but. Boy, stuff like three-way switches and just those little things can just drive you nuts. And if you don't know what you're doing, you need to leave it alone anyhow.
Yeah.
And I just know enough to be dangerous, really. But that's great to have somebody that could come in and kind of knows what to look for, can kind of troubleshoot stuff, and because it's annoying to try to figure out those problems.
It is, and troubleshooting is a little bit of a different skill set. There are a lot of great people in the trade that are fantastic installers of it, but they don't really necessarily have the troubleshooting skills. It's just a different, almost a different side of the trade, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, I know one time that I had a plug-in quit working, but I thought it was my vacuum cleaner that quit working. So instead of saying something to my husband, I ran out and bought a brand new vacuum cleaner, and that plug-in still didn't work. So then I had two working vacuum cleaners and a plug-in that still didn't work. So then I learned, okay, if this one's not working, try another one to find out if it's the appliance or the plug-in.
That sounds like some idea.
I shouldn't tell things like that on myself, but it happens. I mean, you just think that plug-in's going to work forever, and they don't.
Yeah.
Things happen, and they'll quit working, and then you have to get them fixed.
Yeah. Well, that brings up a question right off the bat here. Mm-hmm. Should a person, if they live in an older home and say their house was built in the 70s or whatever, their receptacles are getting a little old, is it a good idea to go through the house and replace your receptacles and switches every so many years?
A lot of that depends on how it was installed. There are a couple different ways that receptacles are traditionally installed, whether the wires were stabbed into the back or wrapped on the screws. And that actually makes a big difference on how it might wear out, because if they're stabbed in, that connection isn't quite as strong. It can wear out quicker, especially if they're plugging in devices that have a big amp draw, like vacuum cleaners and things like that. But it's definitely not going to be necessary in every situation, but would be advisable to have a checkup on them. And that can be done, I don't mind doing checkups. It's kind of like, for me, doing an estimate for free. I really don't charge you. Just do a checkup on a house. If I can pull out a couple plugs and say, no, I think you're in pretty good shape.
I always wondered about that, if they should be replaced or... That's
true. You replace other things in your home, but you really don't think about replacing those. So
yeah, I've seen some from the 50s and 60s that are still just fine, going on great, and then some from the 80s that definitely need to be replaced. So
yeah,
and some of that can be the brand that was put in that just isn't quite as good as some others. So there are a few factors that go into play for that.
Right.
Do you run across very much knob and tube wiring anymore?
I do.
Really? Do we still have quite a bit of that here?
Yes, we do. Especially, on the north side of Springfield, or even mid Springfield. If it was, I don't know what the drawing line was, but it was still installed well into the 40s, even on occasion.
And so what is the deal with that? Because I've heard that if you have that, you really need to have that replaced. What is the deal with the knob and tube? Why is it typically something that should be looked at and upgraded?
Well, the knob and tube is really just kind of feared because of how old it is, and the way it was installed is a completely different kind of installation than we have. And without going into too much detail, it's because it's kind of hard to get a visual picture
Sure.
Over the radio. But typically, because of how old it is, when you have a house that was built at that time, and now in our modern era of so many things being plugged in with such an amp draw, because houses at that time were wired with maybe 2 circuits for the whole home.
I see.
At
Okay.
best 4. And so because there's going to be, typically it's a fuse panel, there's going to be a heavy amp draw, and people will just pop in larger fuses, which it shouldn't do. And it over the time, it produces a large amp draw on the wire itself, and that extra heat that the wire is not rated for corrodes the insulation quicker, and the insulation becomes brittle and flakes off. And then
Well, I've heard it could be a fire hazard. Is that correct?
in that case, yes. When the insulation flakes off, it can be. But I've seen a lot of knob and tube installations that are still just fine. It's actually still legal.
It is?
Believe it or not, it's actually
I didn't
still.
realize that.
Nobody manufactures the product, but if
Oh.
someone,
But if you can find it in Grandpa's shed, you can install
yes,
it.
it is actually still in the current NEC codebook.
Really?
It is.
Wow.
So, which means it can still legally be installed. But again, you're not going to find any manufacturer for it. But I say that to say it's not necessarily unsafe because it's knob and tube.
I see.
It just needs to be checked out, because a lot of times what you'll have in older homes, circuits will be added, and there'll be splices added onto the knob and tube, and the splices aren't done appropriately.
Okay.
And so you have more of a problem with that, having open splices or connections and brittle insulation on the wire itself. Those are really the issues to look at with knob and tube, not the actual product itself.
Okay. And I would imagine, like, probably in older homes like that, if they didn't put a lot of plugins and stuff in, you can buy those really cool things now where you can turn one plug-in into like 8. And you can plug all this stuff into one. I'm thinking, well, that's kind of a cool idea, but I'm not sure it's a good idea.
I have a couple of those.
I do too, unfortunately. But I don't have real heavy drawing things plugged into them, though. Yeah. I don't know if that makes it better or not, but yeah. I've always wondered if you really should use those or not.
It all, like you said, it all depends on how much draw you have on each thing you're plugging in.
Okay.
And the tendency is, especially when you have a knob and tube or older wiring, if it's a fuse panel, and you have say a 15 amp fuse and you're constantly blowing the fuse, the usual reaction was I'll screw in a 20 amp
Bigger fuse.
or a 30 amp.
It's
in
the
there.
bigger hammer theory.
Right, and you just can't necessarily do that because if the wire is not sized appropriately, you're overloading the wire, and that's what will cause the quicker deterioration of the coating of that wire.
Okay.
I don't know how many people over the years I've had say, well, I got a bad breaker in my box because it keeps tripping. And so I'm going to put a bigger breaker in there. Well, I'm like, don't you think, that breaker might be doing its job because you have a problem somewhere else?
That's
Yeah.
The reason that breaker's throwing,
That is correct. It's
People
doing
don't
exactly what it's supposed to.
Yeah,
what
they're
it's supposed
designed to
to.
do that.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the amount of people that breaker's bad. It keeps clicking off.
Yeah.
Every time I plug the toaster in, the breaker goes off. It's bad.
Yeah, and I go into a lot of homes, fuses or breakers, either one, and where it's been someone's done some things added or maintenanced it. It's pretty common for me to find breakers or fuses that are sized over what the wire is rated to handle, and that's a very, very common problem.
That's it. That's an easy quote fix.
Very easy fix. Yeah.
For a while, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or how many times do you see their breaker box or fuse box being full, and so they double tap everything, and so you got twice what you should have on there. I've seen that lots of times before too.
Yep, that is pretty common, and sometimes that can just be fixed with an appropriate breaker, as long as the overall draw in the home isn't over what the service or per se the meter or main breaker will allow, you can use appropriate breakers to allow for more spaces. But again, it just needs to be a quick calculation to make sure you're not overdoing the main breaker.
Right.
When is typically a time that someone would go in and maybe upgrade the breaker or something? Is that something that people really need to look into if they're doing add-ons or remodels and that type of thing?
Boy, that's a wide range of answers for that question. It all depends on what they're adding. Really, if they're adding an addition, if it's just a small room addition, typically what they've already got will usually accommodate it. But if it's a major addition, it really just has to be a calculation of the square footage, which is somebody like myself can figure out. Really calculate what the new square footage of the home will be, plus what hardwired appliances they have, and figure out if their current electrical service is big enough to handle it. And if it's not, then it can always be upgraded. The answer I always give is anything is doable. Anything can be done.
Because I know a lot of folks here, last couple of years or so have done a lot of remodeling and additions or whatever to their existing home instead of selling and buying something new. And I just wondered, when you have an older home like that, when we did ours in Nixa, we did upgrade the entire panel box and all the electric and everything, because that house was built in the 70s, and we expanded the kitchen quite a bit and added more stuff and more outlets and different things like that, and added 2 rooms. Anyway, we made it like twice the size it was when we bought it. So, if you're going to do something like that, then yeah, you probably need to have your electrical panel box looked at. Yeah. But I didn't know if there was if you're doing a kitchen remodel, that's when you should do it. If you're just adding a bedroom, maybe it's okay. I didn't know if there's a rule of thumb to that, or because we've upgraded our panel boxes in that house, and then at the lake also we installed all new panel boxes and electrical there too. So it's just something Paul did. I don't know, he just always did that. But
yeah, and that can be judged by the scope of the project you're doing. If your scope is already large enough where it's not going to be that big of an expense to upgrade the panel to a bigger service, then yeah, it definitely would make sense, especially for future things, because we never know what technology is going to change or offer us that would require more more power on things. And so it's a good point, like you said, if you're already doing a major project where you could justify making the electrical change and upgrading it, then that kind of sets your home up for a long haul.
Well, you look at all the things we plug in. We didn't used to plug in phones.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
laptops, and I mean, we plug in so much stuff anymore. So, I would think that would be something that you would have to kind of keep in the back of your mind. If you we keep buying all this stuff, we keep adding plugins and plugging stuff in, and
now the TVs, they don't actually completely shut down. That when you plug them in,
they don't.
And in our computers, no, they usually don't.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, they unless they're completely unplugged, there's still a certain part of that. And same way with your satellite boxes. My satellite box, I'll hear it. It'll be off, what we think's off, and not watching it. And I'll listen. I can hear it because it's constantly receiving data and stuff from So there's things like that stay powered up.
It's kind of like a computer being in standby mode.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So there's a lot of times stuff running that we don't even realize. So
I guess so, because I certainly didn't know that.
Yeah, you learned something.
I mean, I thought when I turned it off, it was off.
No. Nope, usually not.
Okay, well, there we go.
Yep, that's right. So 862-9977, 1-800-375-0056, or you can text us at 417-838-3192. We'd love to hear from you today.
There was another question. Do you do any kind of electrical stuff for people like outside? We have all these really cool lights and stuff now that you can hardwire in your gardens or flower beds and all that. Do you do that as well? Or
yes, I love to do landscape lighting.
Do you? Okay.
Anything that's decorative, I like doing. So custom lighting, whether it be indoors or outdoors, is a nice niche I like to do. So yeah.
Okay. Because I didn't know if that was something completely separate from what you did or not, but
nope. If it's got wires, I usually mess with it.
Okay. That answers that question.
There you go.
But I have done a lot of landscape lighting.
Okay. Yeah, they have all these solar lights and stuff anymore, but I still think the hardwire is the way to go. They're more consistent and they seem to do better. And, and then if you don't have enough light to get to the solar ones, then they're half on, or half of them are on, half of them are off, and that kind of thing. So I always just think the hardwire is the better way to go. But I don't know.
It is going to be a lot more consistent as long as you can keep an erratic lawn care guy from trimming the wire.
Yeah. Oh well. Yeah. That happens with lots of things. Yeah. They cut 2 wires on air conditioning units too, weed eating, but that's just all part of it, I guess.
It is
just part of it.
That's right.
That's what keeps the world turning, I guess. Always something to fix or maintain or worry about or something.
That's what keeps the HVAC people and the electricians busy.
Yeah, it can. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Now, if a person has an old house and say you have an old 100 amp panel, 100 amp service, and you upgrade and you want to go to 200, it also is going to involve the electric company, whoever it may be, the co-op or the utility company, because they will have to upgrade from the pole to the house, or if it's underground service, whatever. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of times that can have a trickle effect of different things that they want to see upgraded in the house before they'll reconnect power.
Really?
So that's pretty common, especially for if it's in Greene County. That's definitely going to be the case for an older home.
Okay.
So, and we can talk more about that, I guess, after.
Yeah, when we come back.
Yeah, we've got music playing, which means we've got to take a break.
We do. That's right. It is break time. This is Home Repairs and Solutions right here on AM 560 KWTO.
Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
Here's news on the Ozarks News Network. The search for an Illinois murder suspect has shifted to Springfield. 41-year-old Thomas Odell allegedly shot and killed a man in Mattoon, Illinois, stole a car, abandoned it, and stole a second car in Mansfield, then drove it to Springfield, where he stole a pickup at the Springfield 11 Theater near Battlefield and 65. Police say Odell is presumed to be armed and dangerous. Mercy Healthcare will break ground on a new rehabilitation hospital next week at Highway 65 and Evans Road. The $28 million, 63,000 square foot facility will be just north of Mercy Orthopedic Hospital. Groundbreaking is scheduled for noon on Tuesday. And a suspected heroin dealer is in the Phelps County Jail after escaping police custody twice. 31-year-old Felton Metcalf, Jr. of Rolla, led police on a chase that ended at an apartment at 10th and Independence. After being arrested, he broke free and was stopped again after a foot chase. For the Ozarks News Network, I'm Arlen Summers.
Cloudy for today with a few showers and a thunderstorm, high of 66. Cloudy tonight with more showers, low of 50. A few more showers and a thunderstorm. Otherwise cloudy as we start the weekend tomorrow, high 64, low of 49 tomorrow night. Plenty of sunshine on Easter Sunday, the high 67. Breezy and much colder with a mix of snow, sleet, and rain heading into Monday, the high near 40. I'm AccuWeather's Jason Lord.
Currently 53 degrees.
When it comes to your retirement, stop risking your hard-earned money. Brad Pistole, the host of Safe Money Radio, would like to share some safe money investment strategies with you this Wednesday at 2 p.m. on KWTO AM 560. He'll talk about guaranteed protection of principal, wealth management, and income solutions. And to get your free Safe Money kit, you can call 866-780-SAFE any day of the week. 866-780-SAFE. Join Brad for Safe Money Radio this Wednesday at 2 p.m. on KWTO AM 560.
Not sure which wines go with which foods? Listen to Through the Grapevine, Saturdays 11 to noon on KWTO AM 560. And join the show live from the Hilton Garden Inn. That's where your hosts Jim James and Diana Loftus-Wheeler will interview winemakers and wine industry specialists. Plus, you'll have a chance to sample some of the wines being discussed. That's all on Through the Grapevine, live from the Hilton Garden Inn. Every Saturday from 11 to noon on AM 560 KWTO.
This is your call to action. Will you survive? Learn how to survive at the biggest preparedness expo in the USA, the Get Prepared Expo. Over 175 seminars and exhibits. Survival medicine, survival gardening, growing heirloom seeds, negotiating for your life, surviving violent climate change, radiation survival, economic collapse, disease prevention, raising bees, rabbits, and chickens for food, defending your home and family, surviving tornadoes, water filtration and purification, build buckets of storable food. Are you prepared for solar storms, nuclear meltdown, dollar collapse, skyrocketing food and fuel prices, earthquakes, tornadoes? Where is your plan? Get Prepared Expo, Saturday and Sunday, April 6th and 7th, Howland Civic Center, Lebanon, Missouri. Meet USA Prepares Vincent Finelli, Dr. Norman Shealy's team, Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Dr. Joel Wallach, Dr. David Pruitt, Dr. Julie Pennick, Frank Underhill, the Freeze Dry Guy, Missouri Storm Shelters, and over 50 more instructors. $8 one-day and $15 weekend passes. Online, GetPreparedExpo.com. GetPreparedExpo.com. GetPreparedExpo.com.
Well, I went down to the hardware store to see my old friend Bob. I said my roof it leaks, my rug's a mess, and my front door needs a new knob. I got squirrels in my attic, I got bats in my head. Well, Bob just leaned over the counter and he shook his head and said, "You need home repairs and solutions. Home repairs and solutions. They'll fix your windows, they'll fix your house, they'll even tell you how to get rid of a mouse. Home repairs and solutions."
And welcome back to the second half of Home Repairs and Solutions.
Good to be back.
It's good to be back. We always like to be back. We made it through the break.
We did.
And we're still here.
We're still here.
You know, I wanted to bring this up because if I don't, we're going to forget, because that's how I am these days. But next week will be our 2-year anniversary.
Yes,
show.
it will.
Isn't that exciting?
That is exciting.
So next week, we're not going to have a guest on. We're going to kind of have a Mark and Mary show. And, well, we are going to have a special
Yes, we
guest.
are.
We're going to have the person who put this all together and got us going is going to be on the show. So make sure you tune in next Friday. I know that this is Easter weekend, and there might be some people off next week. I'm not sure how the vacation thing went this week. I think some of the schools are off last week and some are next week or whatever. But anyway, try and tune in next week, and we're going to have a good time and kind of let you know how this got started and kind of why we're doing it and all kinds of fun information.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun show.
It will be a fun show. You know, we do have a Mark and Mary show once in a while. Sometimes planned, sometimes not.
Yep,
but this
that's
one's
right.
actually planned.
This one's actually planned.
So it'll be fun. And you can still call in next week and ask us questions like you can today. It'll still be the same format. So, you know, if you have questions or something, you can still call in and ask them. But yeah, tune in and we'll be celebrating 2 years on the air. So
yeah.
Wanted to put that out there, yeah.
We both
pretty proud of that.
Yeah, we both had a lot happen over the last couple of years.
Yes,
too.
we have,
so, you know,
and the fact that we're still here is just pretty amazing to me and Mark. So
well, you know, like we say, we're the Buck and Roy or the Porter and Dolly of Ozarks Radio, so.
or the Tom and Jerry or
Lester and Earl.
Somebody,
that's right.
We're somebody. But yeah, I wanted to put that out there because I thought about that a while ago, and I thought, well, I'll say that at the break so people kind of know we're coming up on our 2 years. So
yes.
It's been a fast 2 years.
It has.
Really has.
It really has.
But like we say, every hour is fast.
That's right.
It's the fastest hour of our week. But we're always happy to have all of you join us and participate when you want to.
Mm-hmm. We like that.
So you have about 20 minutes left to call if you want to do that. But we're going to go back to Brian here and learn some more about some electrical and find out some things he might be able to help you with, or if you have some projects around the home, or if you have a plug-in that's not working, have it checked out before you go buy a new vacuum cleaner, like I did. You know, it might save you a lot of money.
Yeah, there you go. So, Brian the Maverick.
The Maverick. There you go.
I like it. You know,
that is a cool name.
Yeah, and you know what I think of when we say Maverick is it goes back. I'll show my age. Well, it hadn't been that long ago, but you remember the movie Top Gun?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Maverick. You know, he was like Tom Cruise played that part.
Yeah,
he's kind of got the Tom Cruise look. You know,
yeah.
You know, nice looking
there you
young
go.
man. And
there you go.
So yeah, Maverick. That was one of my favorite movies. Yeah, so good old Top Gun. So that's what when he said Maverick, that's what it reminded me of.
It's usually that people think of, or they'll think of the old TV show.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
yeah, with James Garner.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's true. There was a show named Maverick. So.
Or the Mel Gibson movie spin-off of the show, which also had James Garner in it.
That's right. It did.
That's true. Well, you picked a good name. It's got lots of links to it, so it'll be easy to remember.
Yep.
Yeah. What other show? Let's see. Talking about TV shows now. James Garner. What was it? He was a private eye in a one of those shows. What was that? Where he drove the the car, the GTO or whatever it was.
Rockford.
The
Rockford
Rockford Files.
Files.
Yeah.
I remember that.
That's
show.
a little off
I'm not
subject.
too
I'm
old
sorry,
or
but
too young to remember.
That's okay. That's okay. That kind of happens this once in a while. We kind of wander off.
I wonder a lot. Trust me. So
We kind of wander around, and we eventually get back to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah. We'll get back there. So, but we were talking over the break about new technologies and stuff. I don't see how some of you guys keep up with that stuff. I mean, there's so many things that happens, whether it's in the heating and air, like we've talked about so many times, and now in the electric world. I mean, there's new technologies, there's new things happening. It's just amazing. Keeping up with all that.
It is almost a full-time job to keep up with all the changes.
Yeah. I'm sure.
And you wouldn't think with you wouldn't think there'd be that many changes because you think, okay, electricity's electricity.
Yeah.
But there are. I mean, there's changes in products and all kinds of things. So you have to kind of know what works with what and what goes together where and all that kind of stuff.
Well, everything about my field is referred to as electrical theory for a reason. I mean, it's not 100% fully understood all the time. That's why it's it's kind of like doctors. What they do is a practice.
That's why they call it practicing medicine. That's right.
Yeah.
But it is electrical theory. That's why it's always changing, evolving. And years ago, that's why you would have 2-prong outlets instead of 3. There was no ground until it was fully understood the importance of why that was. It's the main safety feature of a home is properly grounding.
Speaking of that, do people still put grounding rods outside their homes? Do you still need that? With the new technology we have now, they used to put grounding rods so if there was a lightning strike or something, it would try and run down the rod instead of pull it through your home. Or I don't know. Are you
referring to a ground rod or a lightning rod?
I don't know. Is there a difference?
There is.
Oh, I didn't know that. I guess I'm talking about a lightning rod.
Okay. Yeah, lightning rod is it really depends on the location of the home. If it's really high up on a hill without any trees around, then those are the combination of things that are going to make it more susceptible to a lightning strike. And if you put lightning rods on your home, what that does is it doesn't attract the lightning necessarily to strike the rod and dissipate to the ground. It actually absorbs the static field around the home, so that the lightning is not attracted to the home.
Oh, okay.
So that's what happens when a lightning strike. You have a static charge building up from both the sky and the ground, and they kind of connect and meet somewhere. So the lightning rods on the home are basically dissipating that static field into the ground. So your house is not that magnet, so to speak.
It seemed like mostly growing up, I would see those, out on farms and people in rural areas, not so much in town. But
right, and the reason for that is, out on a farm, you've got no trees, you're wide open, so anything sticking up out of the ground is more susceptible be a place to lightning to strike than just the bare ground.
Okay.
So that's why you would see that more there.
Okay. I didn't know if those were still something that would, people would still be using for some reason or not. So
absolutely, I can give you a good example. It's been a few years ago, probably 5 or 6 years. I wired a home out in Reed Spring. This was the developer's home of the subdivision. Very nice subdivision. And his house was the biggest one. It was sitting right up on the hill. In fact, the whole subdivision is on a ridge. And he went the extra mile, and I installed lightning rods over the roof of his house. And a year later, wired a house across the street from him. And a doctor ended up buying the home. And about this time last year, I'd say right at this time, I get a call from the developer. Says, hey, you need to come out to the doc's house. We just had lightning storm blow through, and a bolt of lightning actually shot right through the roof of his home.
Whoa.
Splintered through the rafters, blew out a bunch of framing, and fried about $4,000 of electrical equipment in his house, home theater systems and things. And, the developer's house right across the street within 100 feet was fine.
Protected.
Untouched, yeah.
Wow.
But again,
something to think about. I just,
It is,
I hadn't heard anyone talk about those for a long time, or hadn't really paid attention to, to see any new ones being put up or anything. So,
but again, it's not going to be the scare for the normal house. That subdivision, they're way up high on a ridge, and no tall trees near their house. And
anything to absorb it, except their house. Okay,
it's interesting.
Just curious.
That's a good question because I was always curious about that. I mean, and that's something you've seen a lot of times on older farmhouses and stuff, but you just don't see that much anymore. And I always wondered about that, if it actually worked, which I figured it did. But so So
It's still
that's
common.
neat.
And
Yeah.
some construction projects, like a commercial or industrial projects, it's certain structures are going to be required to have that protection.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Didn't know that.
Didn't either.
I've learned lots today.
I have too.
I'm going to have to leave after the show. My brain will be full, and I'll be done for the day.
Your brain will be fried from all the electricity.
From all the electrical, yeah. No, hopefully not. But, okay, well, interesting, because that's just something that I was just kind of curious about.
You know, something else that we were talking, I want you to just touch on a little bit. I thought was really cool. You brought it up about the wireless stuff,
Yeah.
about the new wireless technology that's coming
Yeah.
down the pike in probably a few years. Or,
Yeah, we were talking about the homes nowadays are common to have multiple outlets, and then I mentioned that, you know, within the next few years, who knows how long, whenever they perfect all the products that are out there, that homes will probably in the near future be wired without a lot of plugs because of wireless electricity. And it is a reality. It is there are products that have been built for it. So once they fine tune it, you will someday, I assume, will have wireless electricity in your home, and it works off of kind of magnetic transmitters that basically a magnet that transfers the wireless signal for electricity to be picked up by something that has the magnetic receiver, and you can even go online and Google videos and see people using wireless electricity devices, whether it be a whole TV or a cell phone or light bulbs and things like that. It's very fascinating, and it's coming pretty quick.
It almost sounds like the Jetsons or something. Remember that cartoon, The
Oh,
Jetsons?
absolutely.
I mean, it
Yeah.
kind of is, you know, that was so far-fetched, you know, when I was
Yeah.
a kid and watching that. But, you know, it seems like it's getting closer and closer to reality all the time,
Yeah.
you know, with all the robot stuff we have going on. And then I would have never thought we'd have had wireless electricity in homes. That's
Yeah.
just
Well, there are
amazing.
there's two major companies right now that are kind of competing for the patents and you know, government funding and things like that, and so I don't know who's going to win that war, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but,
who knows? But,
it's out there.
Well, I
wow,
mean,
pretty amazing.
who would have thought several years ago we'd have air conditioning in our homes? I mean,
That's
really,
true.
if
Yeah,
you think about
that's
it.
true. That's true.
You know, and we're talking, you know, technology has come so far over the last 30 years.
And quickly.
Yeah.
Quickly, we've advanced to things. Well, most
Sure.
people have, except for me. And I still have a flip phone, and it just drives everybody crazy,
Well,
including the supplier that I got from. They're like, we can't believe that still works. Or, you know, I'm like, well, when it dies, I'll look at something else. But I guess I just like things a little more simple. You know, I tried to use a smartphone. I can't
Yeah.
even figure it out. So,
it's
and my grandchildren know how to use them
oh, the kids all know how to use it
without any problem at all. But I really I don't know. I'm not willing to be the first one on the block with all this stuff. But
Yeah.
one of these days, I guess I won't have a choice.
No, you know, I don't think any of us will.
No. Kind of like it took us a while to figure out that people could text us questions.
Yeah. Yeah, it took us 2 years to figure that one out, didn't it?
Well, it looks like we have a caller.
All right, let's talk to Brad. Go ahead, Brad.
Yes, sir. I've been listening to your show, and I live in the northern part of Greene County, and I'm about 100% blind. Can't see much anymore, but I need some electrical work done, and I also need a patio and some other work done, and I don't know anybody. I haven't been here that long, and I don't know too many people. So I heard you talking and this gentleman, and I'd like to have his number.
That's a great idea. We probably should give out your contact information.
Well, sure. Be glad to. Number is 417-862-2622. And
622. Okay.
yeah. And you can use those same 7 digits, the 862-2622.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also my email address. Just add @gmail.com. And you got my email. And you also have my website, 862-2622.com.
All right. And you do interior, and I heard you do a patio and landscaping lights, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it. And off the air, could I get some contact numbers for maybe some patio? If you know people that do all kinds of stuff, I need a front door put in and patios to do. What would be the best way to reach one of you guys?
What do you need done with the patio? You need a patio put in, or what?
Yes, ma'am. I need a new patio put in. Totally. It's green space now, but I like to have a big patio put in.
I can give you a name of someone that can do that for you as well, if you want to write this down.
Okay.
You can call Brighter Day Construction.
Okay.
The gentleman's name is James Long.
James Long. Okay.
And his number is 417.
Okay.
766.
766
3799.
3799. Okay.
And what else did you need?
I want to have a front door put in, like a glass front door, exterior door,
Okay, I have someone that can help you with that as well.
Okay.
If you want to call All American Doors or All American Windows and Doors.
Okay.
The gentleman's name is John.
John.
And his phone number is 417.
Okay.
353.
353.
0865.
0865. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for calling. That reminds me, for folks who have heard our show and maybe have listened to different people on the show, you can go to Spring Mountain Air's website, and there's the Mary's list on our website, and our website is just springmountainair.com, and you can click on Mary's list, and you can go through there and find the different people and the different professionals that we've had on the show, because I put all this information on our website, and you can also listen to whatever show they were on or any other shows you might have missed. So that's it for people that like to do things on the computer. That's another way to get information of folks that have been on the show. So, but we appreciate your call, Brad.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, yesterday or day before, I needed a number of somebody that I knew we had. Well, matter of fact, it was John Feltz.
Yeah.
And I recommended him to a guy in the office that needed windows. So I went to Mary's list and got his number.
There you go.
So I knew it'd be on there. So.
Or you can call our office. We have people call our office too. They call the office because they know that we do the show, and I always have the list there. If I'm not there, Angel, who's our receptionist, she can help you out. Even my son got a phone call the other day, and he knew to look in my folder, and he was able to help people. So
well, great.
So yeah, there's lots of ways to get a hold of us, and we'll be happy to give you information of whoever we've had on the show that can help you out with whatever your situation might be.
That's right.
That's why we're here.
That is.
We like to help folks.
Yep.
So
yep, we do. So
we do. We like to help businesses, local businesses, keep going and get new business and promote local, and that's why we have Brian here. He's a nice guy. We had his dad on the show a few months back or so.
Yeah.
His dad does roofing, and nice guy. So thought since his dad was such a good guy, we'd give Brian a shot.
Be too. Yeah. Oh, that's true. So, well, Brian has gave us some good information. Just and a lot of times, it's just basic stuff that we don't even think about, you know. But we need to have it looked at. If you have a receptacle that don't work, don't go buy a new vacuum. Have the receptacle
like I
first,
did.
And it's just little things like that, or a light that's not working that quits working. You've replaced the bulbs, but it still don't work. So what might be the problem? Well,
I can give a quick tip on that before someone calls an electrician for a light bulb that's just not working no matter what light you screw into it. If you look in the base of a traditional light bulb socket, you'll see a little copper tab, and it's kind of springy, but a lot of times it'll get mashed all the way flat up into the socket, so that no matter how far you screw in the bulb, the base of the bulb will not make contact with it. So as long as you kill power to the socket,
don't get a screwdriver and try and adjust.
I want to put that disclaimer out there first. Make sure the power's off. But if you can stick something small enough up in there to kind of pry that tab down, bend it down a little bit. I can't tell you how many service calls I've had to go and fix just that problem that literally took me about 15 seconds.
Right.
And that's something a homeowner can try first before they call someone else.
Right. But that's a good point. Always kill the power.
Oh, yeah.
I always kill the power.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then you might need a physician.
Yeah, that reminds me of the very first electrician I worked for when I was a kid in high school. My job was to put receptacles and stuff in a new construction, and so I had my nice pliers there, and needless to say, I burned them up on the first one because the power wasn't off like he thought.
Oops.
And the first time I bit into it, and it kind of knocked me back in the floor, and I'm sorry, I'll go turn it off, and he turned the wrong one off. I did it again. And so after 2 times of getting knocked back in the floor, I learned to make sure that power was off.
Yeah, check it yourself and make sure.
And so I had a nice little burn place in my pliers that I was using.
Sure,
so,
it can happen. It can happen.
So, yep.
And sometimes you get a little tingle, and sometimes you get a big tingle.
You get a big tingle.
And those big ones hurt.
Kind of catch you off guard.
They do.
Yeah.
We have Carl holding on the line. Good morning, Carl.
How are you?
Good. How are you this sir?
Not too bad. I've got I bought one of those big infrared heaters here a couple winters ago. Things works great. The problem is it's burned its third plug off of the end of it. Just melts it down, just burns it up. Lasts about 6 months or so.
Okay. You talking about the actual receptacle in the wall?
No, the plug on the heater itself.
On the heater. Now those do have even though they're infrared, they still draw about 1,500 watts, which is 12.5 amps. That's the maximum anything can draw that you buy. So I would say it's either going to be an internal problem with the heater itself, or a heavier duty cord could just be hardwired onto it. If that's the case, I mean, I could install a more stout cord on there, me or any other electrician, and that would either take care of the problem. But if there's something that's causing too much heat buildup on that line due to the internal components of the heater, that could be an internal problem with itself.
I see. Because you plug it in, it's fine, and then the wife was checking in, and she noticed the outlet was hot, and the cord was hot about 4 or 5 inches from the outlet up. And
okay, well, now I think about it, one other thing that could be checked is if there's not a good solid connection at the receptacle itself, and it's just kind of a barely good enough connection to let the electricity flow through, that's going to cause excess heat buildup. So that's actually something that should be looked at as well.
Okay.
Because that excess heat will go back on the cord itself from the actual wall outlet.
All right. Well, I thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I got something that I don't know. I've asked a couple other electricians about this. They ever seen one? They said no, they hadn't. And I don't know how old it is. It's several years old, but it's actually a deal you stick in the receptacle, and it tells you
whether it's wired right.
Well, no, not necessarily whether it's wired right, but I don't know how to explain it. How much tension there is where you stick your prongs in, how tight that is.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
And so you plug it in, you pull back, and it's got a little spring deal. It'll show you how much tension there is on that to make sure that they're tight.
And that would be a potential issue that Carl would be having also.
Yeah.
If the prongs are old enough where the metal inside that receptacle has gotten spread apart enough, and anything he plugs into is not necessarily going to make a good connection, that's an easy enough fix, just putting a new receptacle in there. It doesn't take hardly any time at all.
Now, normally when we have electrical fires, it's due to usually a bad connection, something like that, where it's the connections come loose, it's arcing, or just bad wiring, insulation come off. But if it burns, if it gets hot enough and the insulation gets burned off the wire and stuff, that's all fire hazard, right?
It is, but unfortunately, when fires are related to an electrical problem, it's usually because something was installed improperly. It's usually a code violation almost all the time.
Right.
Because even when you've got a loose connection, the products that we use in the electrical field are rated to handle that. You know, all the boxes that contain a splice where an arcing could take place has a fire rating to protect against that. Now there may be an external problem like a device that could short circuit and things like that. But nowadays with new construction, we have new breakers that can protect against that.
Right.
Arc fault breakers.
Okay. And a lot of times we see, like in new construction, we use arc faults in the bedrooms.
That's correct.
Why is that they're just on the bedrooms?
Typically because that's where you're more likely to have carpet and using cords that could be pinched by a piece of furniture like a table lamp, on the side of your bed. Thin cords that could be, if something is laid on top of it where it frays away that the insulation a little bit, you may have small strands of the cord that could just slightly be arcing enough, not enough to trip the breaker, but enough to catch the rug on fire.
Okay. I always
that would
wondered
not be a good idea.
No, it wouldn't.
I'd like to, if I could give a shout out to my family that's listening, my beautiful wife, Stacy, Sheila, Micah, Anna, Noah, Josiah, and Janessa. My 6 kids are listening too.
Wow.
Good deal. Give out your contact information one more time, your phone number.
417-862-2622. And the same 7 digits, 862-2622 @gmail.com for my email or the website.com.
Thanks for being our guest today, Brian. I learned a lot from you. That was great to have you on today.
Yep. You're welcome.
What are you doing for Easter? Are you going to hunt Easter eggs?
No.
Me neither.
No. Going to rest, go to probably River Bluff Fellowship Sunday morning and enjoy the church service.
Call it good.
Call it good. That's right.
Sounds like a winner.
Yep. You do anything special?
Nope. Going home.
Okay. This is Home Repairs and Solutions every Friday morning on KWTO.